everyone, this is Paul Gale from PaulGaleNetwork.com, and thank you for joining me today for video game news. It is June 23rd, 2021, and these are the top stories of the day. To kick things off, happy 25th anniversary to Nintendo 64. This system means a lot to me. As you can see, I'm wearing my N64 t-shirt right here. It came out on June 23rd, 1996 in Japan, alongside this gem, Super Mario 64. One of the most influential, coolest games of all time. And really, this was my most hyped, most anticipated product ever as 12, eventually 13-year-old me. You know, being born in 1983, I came into video games during the NES era. My first type of entertainment system of some capacity was a TI-94A computer/gaming hybrid machine, and then proper console was the Nintendo Entertainment System. You know, growing up, I played a variety of video game consoles, but NES was, officially my first system, with Super Nintendo following up, and the hype leading into Nintendo 64 was ridiculous. Yes, I did play Sega Genesis. I did play Sega Saturn and Sony PlayStation, all before the N64 officially came out in 1996. But there was nothing as powerful as the force that was Nintendo at the time, and being a Nintendo fan. And I remember looking in classic video game magazines like Nintendo Power, Electronic Gaming Monthly, and GamePro, Game Fan, just to name a few, and just fantasizing about holding that new controller in my hands. How you could hold it from the sides, from the middle prong on the right, the middle prong on the left. Seeing these visuals, this jump in technology from basically Super Mario RPG to Super Mario 64. Super Mario RPG was pretty late in the Super Nintendo life, and it was kind of a 3D take on Mario. It was a very different game, but than Mario 64, that is. But still, it had that top-down isometric perspective, which you could kind of replicate in Super Mario 64, but to a much greater degree in the latter. So whether you were looking at it from that perspective of Super Mario RPG to Super Mario 64, or just looking at the greater scheme of games were forever going to change from 2D proper evolution, I guess you could call it, Super Mario Brothers 1, 2, 3, World 2, Yoshi's Island, to 64. And the promise, the hopes of future games on the system also just being 3D with these fully functioning 3D rotating cameras. Even though other 3D machines technically existed, before this came out, the hype for Super Mario 64 was on a whole nother level. The 3D controller with the analog stick, that was another revolutionary point. I mean, we're not even into rumble pack technology yet, which came a year later with Star Fox 64 coming out in June of 1997, but just the 3D functionality, and I say 3D functionality because without an analog stick, moving around in a 3D environment with a D-pad just wouldn't quite be the same, and different games have done it over the years. Even games that came out, far after the N64 era, and it's just not quite the same as a proper functioning analog stick. But that analog stick promised moving Mario in every direction. These right C buttons, left C buttons, up and down for that matter, able to control the camera freely while moving Mario around, gave you camera control, more freedom. It gave you the ability to be director of your game, simultaneously taking over the character. So it was really quite an experience. It's something interesting because thanks to this system, so many of its groundbreaking revolutionary moments are just boom in the industry today as a standard. You never think about, of course my second analog stick just rotates the camera, no big deal. But at the time, going from being a gamer in the 80s to mid-90s and knowing what to expect, playing around, seeing the evolution properly come to in the industry, and then all of a sudden, boom, being hit out of nowhere with this machine was quite special. I got to late June. It had to be, within a week after this Japanese launch, possibly within the first couple of days of July. Got to play the Nintendo 64 along with Super Mario 64 at a place called Gameland, and it was in Torrance, California. It was a Japanese import shop. They sold US games as well, but their specialty was really bringing stuff from Japan fast over to US. And I remember seeing that Super Mario 64 on that Nintendo 64 on that old boob tube TV right there. The new hottest item that they had with the bright neon shiny print going all around. And just like I said, 12-year-old or 13-year-old me, because I'm born July 7th, so I either, like I said, could have been late June, early July, right before the 7th, and I was 12, or just turned 13. But regardless, right in there, Kid Paul was just hoping, please let me play it. I don't think I'm going to buy it today, because it was also priced higher than the Japanese MSRP for their yen conversion, and higher than our own September 29th cost would be of $200, which would come out just a few months later, so I could wait. But I really wanted to try it out, so my dad and I went in. I asked if I could play it. He said sure, and he handed me that controller, the store clerk, and I held it, and it was like nothing else, Even though I, was playing on Super Nintendo, PlayStation, more so than Saturn at the time, and saw that evolution of, okay, Nintendo went from rectangle to curved, and PlayStation kind of curved it out a little bit more. It was nothing compared to Nintendo 64, full on prongs that just melted into your hands. Proper grip, trying every combination that I could. Okay, clicking on the buttons, pulling off Hadoukens with the analog stick, with the D-pad, thinking of, oh my gosh, what Street Fighter is going to be like on this thing, which Street Fighter ironically never came to Nintendo 64, sad to say. But more importantly, I got to push start, and I got to play in Super Mario 64. And I remember I got to play in front of the castle, Dire Docks. I heard this music already at this point. If I'm not mistaken, we had, before the launch from Nintendo, they gave to us Nintendo Power VHS tapes. So I got to hear some of what the game was going to be like. Because don't forget, this is pre-internet, So going in the latest EGM, looking at the pictures and just fantasizing about it, that was one thing. But you couldn't just pop up a trailer anytime. But it was sometime before the US launch that we got this VHS tape. So I was able to hear some of the music. But now, getting to hear more, jump with Mario for the first time in 3D. See that where my shadow was where Mario was going to land. That was Nintendo's precision. I was already a big fan of Mr. Shigeru Miyamoto, and of course this introduced me to longtime friend in the real world, Charles Martinet, someone whom I wouldn't meet for several years after this game came out, but still, you know him as the voice actor for Mario for 25 plus years now. And just what a bolt of electricity, what an unforgettable moment. I'm getting goosebumps recreating this story right now, sharing it, of moving that analog stick and running around with Mario. And somehow it just felt natural. It was the gamer in me that already understood how to play, but moving him around, changing the camera angle, yeah, wahoo, jumping, punching, wah, yeah, wahoo, punch, kick, long jump, yippee, backflip, it was coming to me. I was salivating. I'll never forget it. I think it will be forever the most impactful video game experience that I got to play for the first time, probably ever. I'll probably never have quite that moment. I would say that jumping into VR is really cool and really big, but at this point in the industry, 3D graphics have gotten so good, and we're already so immersed with high quality TVs and high quality surround sound and really good, comfortable controllers, that jumping into the world of VR, though incredible, I don't know necessarily if it's quite the impact as 2D playing or 3D slight navigation playing to full-on 3D polygonal models in a 3D world with a completely self-controlled 3D camera angle with 360 degrees of freedom in an analog stick and jumping anywhere, doing anything. That jump from just a 2D plain platforming experience or walking up and down a map with just a set perspective that's technically still 2D, you know? That jump was amazing. And it also came at the right time because by the time that Nintendo 64 came out in the United States, I was certainly 13 years old, and just the mind of a 12, 13-year-old boy and girl, I'm assuming it's the same. You know, you're so young and impressionable and things are so fun. You have the mental sophistication to appreciate something new, but you're young enough that everything is felt at a really powerful level. And for me, I was playing long enough that I was able to see and get a grasp of the change, you know? Oh, just wanted to share my own personal first experience with Nintendo 64 and Super Mario 64. It's still to this date probably my favorite system ever. I just love it from an aesthetic standpoint. The design, I still think holds up remarkably well. Some people would say, "Oh, it's dated. It's got a '90s look," but like I love this shape. I remember getting it, you know, back when it came out in the U.S. at launch, and just feeling like this is like a spaceship. Looking at my Nintendo, my Super Nintendo, and my Nintendo 64 being welcomed into the family. The sleek grooves, the air vents, the 4 controller ports on front. It really was the fun machine. Even the controller could look like a spaceship flying around. The buttons, the layout. Like I said, I thought this was going to be the perfect machine for Street Fighter. 6 buttons on the face. You could use it in analog or D-pad setup. You could use the 2 shoulder buttons if you wanted as extra buttons. Recreate a Super Nintendo kind of feel, or go for something that's like a, you know, arcade hybrid console slashover with D-pad and 6 or analog and 6 on the face. Sadly, Street Fighter never came to it. That's the only disappointing thing. But you know, I'm not gonna rain on the parade. I'm gonna talk more about the strengths. Rumble Pack that came later. Most games had memory saved into the cartridge, but you also had the ability to buy a memory card and save other titles like that through the card. The expansion pack, which was really cool at the time, you know, bringing Nintendo 64's total RAM from 4 megs of RAM to 8 megs of RAM. Seeing that cool slot go in, popping in this red boost of power. You could feel the power, you know, and it made an impact in some games more so than others. Some games were it had a requirement in it to have the expansion pack to fully play all of it, like Perfect Dark, for instance. Other games just wouldn't work without it, like Donkey Kong 64. Then you had titles like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and Star Wars Episode 1 Racer that utilized it to have better frame rates, smoother polygons, a crisper look overall, a little bit better graphics and performance, basically. Oh, it gave us so much, and I'm forever thankful for Nintendo for it. You know, I use this shirt that I have, not this one, but a white version of it that I got back in 1996 every year for my annual video game themed pumpkin carvings, where like I said, I wear this shirt and I carve my pumpkins in it, and I take a picture with my pumpkin with my N64 shirt on, and that's because I started doing video game themed pumpkin carvings in 1998 and have not stopped in the last 22 plus years, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, a lot of fond memories. I imagine that going to something like an E3 or Space World Tokyo Game Show back when you could have played this ever for the first time must have been insane. My first E3 was obviously 2000, so Nintendo 64 was already 4 years old at that point, but still, it was an amazing system to play, even though the generation was starting to get long and the PS2 technically came out in Japan, by that E3 of mine. But still, really cool stuff. I feel like soon, possibly, Nintendo Switch might become my favorite system ever, because maybe the magic wasn't quite replicated in the sense of gaming since Super Mario 64 for the first time, but the console, I think, N64 captured the magic from the console perspective. Here you have this gaming system that is able to play today's games, today's latest games on the TV, and then take it on the go. That hasn't left me in the last 4 years and 3.5 months. That still feels awesome. Whether I'm playing something that's, oh my gosh, this amazing Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild title, or Super Mario Odyssey, a game that looks terrific, and then just take it on the go. Or if I'm doing something like from a third-party point of view, like a Mortal Kombat 11 or a Doom, Wolfenstein 2, taking that on the go. Like, these are games that, the Nintendo ones are obviously exclusive, but the other ones, these are games that, you could be playing on the Xbox One or PS4, and like with very close visual parity, taking it on the go on the Nintendo Switch. And even the tabletop mode, fun. And the Joy-Con, fun. Like, the Joy-Con kind of brought some of that hardware innovation like Nintendo had in the N64 era. Then again, you could say that Wii really got close, in my opinion, to the Super Mario 64 moment, because I had a similar experience with that, both at E3 and then eventually when buying a Wii and playing Wii Sports. And as simple as it was, the graphics being just a step up in evolution from GameCube and from the previous generation of, PS2 and Xbox and GameCube, it was the control that was awesome. Swinging around, having the ball spin in bowling, batting. Earlier I was replicating tennis, of course. So I'd say that, Nintendo 64, and even before NES, if you look at what gaming was before the NES, from Atari and television days, Magnavox Odyssey, look at then to Nintendo Entertainment System. That was a giant leap, in my opinion. And then we had an evolution, like NES was a revolution. NES was an evolution. NES was a revolution almost from the old. It was technically an evolution, but it felt revolutionary. Super Nintendo, an evolution. N64, a pure revolution in every way. GameCube, an evolution. Wii, a revolution, and Wii was even codenamed Revolution. Wii U, I think Nintendo wanted it to be another revolution, but it was an evolution. But it had the potential of being a revolution. It was kind of a little bit too early. They tried to obviously, do dual screen gaming on TV and in home, portable mode ish at the same time. I say ish because you could only be within a certain vicinity of the console itself, but not quite portable yet. But it wasn't fully intended to be. It could be a portable in some games' point of view in the house somewhere, but really it was kind of trying to replicate like the DS experience of two different games screens going on at the same time to further enhance gameplay and stuff like that. But you could say evolution with a little twist. Nintendo Switch, revolution in some ways. Not in necessarily graphics, but the fact that it's a TV, console, handheld in one, this hybrid platform with touchscreen and stuff. And then if you look at the handheld market, you could say similar things like Game Boy to Game Boy Color to Game Boy Advance, proper evolutions. DS, a revolution that successfully integrated touchscreen and dual screen gaming, going into 3DS evolution, but revolutionary concepts with the 3D tech bouncing off the image. So Nintendo, I guess depending on where you're at and just how much do you view things, where do you put your preference, what's most important to you. Quite a few of their systems could be considered revolutions, but a true one undoubtedly was the Nintendo 64. Wii over GameCube, I could say that was a revolution too in some ways thanks to the motion controls. But this system is very special. Like I said, Nintendo Switch might go down eventually as being my favorite of all time because of the sheer fact that 4 years plus in, still getting many great games. So from a software standpoint, so many titles available for it that are big hits, more that are coming out, which I really respect. The console being fresh and still fun and exciting playing 4 years in, not getting tired of the experience. It might, but it's hard to beat this one for me personally. Other systems have a greater library of games. You know, there are other systems out there with backwards compatibility and more functions, and they could do internet and, you know, different streaming services and so forth. But this was the beast. This was quite the impact. So, to Super Mario 64, one of the best games ever made, one of the most influential games ever made, one of my favorite games of all time, and to Nintendo 64, happy 25th birthday. Thank you for the memories. And moving on, Sonic the Hedgehog today turns 30. So I just have to refresh this and show you the balloons. Now, no new Sonic game or Sonic footage was shown off today. However, it has been reported that Sega is considering turning Sonic the Hedgehog into a VTuber and would like to have some Sonic involvement in theme parks. So that's kind of cool news. As the day goes on, we might hear more from Sonic. This is a tweet from May 25th, which is older, but it was still pretty cool. I showed this previously on the channel before, but since it's the anniversary,
at least
I could show a little bit
tell
more
us.
of it.
Especially when things get tough.
You know, especially back in the day, it
Sometimes
was
we just
Nintendo
need
versus
a little
Sega,
inspiration.
Super Nintendo versus Sega Genesis, Mario versus Sonic.
Keep us going. And to remind us,
you know, I have good memories of all of
that
gaming
together,
throughout my youth and teens,
nothing can stop us.
early adulthood, parenthood, but Sonic and Mario, they go way back.
From games to comics, animation,
Sonic movie
to
was great.
movies,
There it
every
is.
moment in between. Thank you for being there. Every step of the way. Here's to the next 30 years.
You know, Yuji Naka, I was speaking to him recently, and congratulated him on Sonic. And his involvement in the video game industry. We met several times over the years at various E3s and, you know, talking briefly about his potential retirement if he retires. Congratulations, it's been an awesome career. You know, he worked at Sega for a long time. Recently he was at Square Enix, left Square, considering retirement. Here's an old photo of ours. Not the first time we met, but the E3 2011 picture, which I chose because that's 10 years ago, which is kind of crazy how time goes by. So, to Yuji Naka, congratulations and thank you again for creating Sonic. If you do retire from the video game industry, know that, as I told you personally, I appreciate you. Millions of people around the world appreciate your work, and you'll forever go down as one of the fathers of gaming and one of the most iconic video game characters that has truly stood the test of time. 30 years in the video game industry. Really awesome. If this is the end of your journey, congrats, thank you. Have a wonderful retirement and enjoy the rest of your life. And here's to good health and happiness lasting you always. And if you do go back into video games, I will be supportive and look forward to seeing where you go next. Moving on, Borderlands film today announced that Claptrap is here. The film has wrapped, and here is the image of Claptrap. Good to know that the film has finished filming. We'll see how it's all edited together and what it turns out to being. Hopefully it's solid. Just a quick update right there. Next up, from Lego and Doug Bowser, the president of Nintendo of America, there's a cool video that was shown off. I'll play it. It's of a 2-player mode coming to
Hello, Luigi. Hi, Mario.
Lego Mario.
Here we go.
You know, video game news with PC announced previously and showed off the Luigi amiibo, but here we get to see, obviously the Luigi Lego, but here we get to see how like that 2-player mode is being incorporated, where you can collect coins and have this friendly co-op versus mode experience. And you can see these two having fun. I don't imagine necessarily everybody who plays with these to have such a choreographed experience or the ability to walk on walls. I mean, that's impressive. To be able to walk on walls like that. Yeah. But it's fun. It's
Bye-bye.
cool little commercial. August 1st. Coming up soon. And then presumably the dad in the commercial.
Jumping to new adventures with Lego Mario and Lego Luigi. Lego Super Mario. Lego Mario Starter Course, Lego Luigi Starter Course, and other sets sold separately. Batteries not included.
So that's fun. I thought I'd show that today. You know, got a good amount of variety. Talking about Nintendo 64, Super Mario 64, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Yuji Naka. Some great anniversaries going today. Just hit me with the feels again. Can you see that? I talk about my goosebumps and I show it off on screen sometimes like you could see it. I don't know if you could see it, but that's just my hype. That's just my happiness. That's real energy right there. Got some Borderlands talk, Lego Super Mario talk, and then finally today, reminder, Shin Megami Tensei 5 Steelbook Edition is available right now at Best Buy for the standard $60. The premium edition, it comes in and out at $120. As of this morning, it was available. As of now, it's back to not being available. Let's see if you click it right here. It probably will say sold out or not available yet. Coming soon, yeah. But the Steelbook, which is the standard, which is really cool that the standard is still a Steelbook, like that's kind of nice, is available and it's $60. So if this is a game that you were interested in after watching it at the Nintendo Direct E3 this year, definitely check it out. And everyone's got the same deal, $60, Best Buy, Amazon, GameStop, Walmart, whatever, Target. So there's that. This is Paul Gale from PaulGaleNetwork.com signing out. Thank you for joining me today for video game news. Let me know what you thought about the different topics discussed, and I hope you all have a great one. To Yuji Naka, one more time, and Sonic the Hedgehog, Sega, congratulations. Happy 30th birthday, Sonic. To Nintendo, to Nintendo 64, and to Super Mario 64, happy birthday. Happy 25th.
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Well, that was interesting. Wasn't talking to you, Siri. Okay, everybody. That's it for today. Take it easy. See y'all next time. Have a good one. Bye.